Alright, Crackdown 3 is finally out, and the good news is I don't actually have to buy it. I'm already paying for Game Pass, so I can just download it. Now, it's been 5 years in the making since basically I've heard about this game, so I'm pretty excited to see what they've been able to do with the Wrecking Zone, with their cloud-based computing for the destruction, and the classic Crackdown single player. I want to see how they evolved it and made it better, because they've been working on it for so long. I think the campaign is going to be pretty awesome. Somehow, I still feel ripped off.
Crackdown 3 is a game that was introduced to the world in 2014 at Microsoft's conference alongside Halo 5, Rise of the Tomb Raider, and Forza Horizon 2. Yeah, it's been a while. During Gamescom 2015, they finally showed off the cloud technology that will be used in Crackdown 3. What we saw here was promising, although it was dismissed by many people as a pipe dream. It was described as using 20 times the power of any one Xbox One system at the time, giving the game the ability for advanced real-time destruction mechanics that were really impressive looking. At the time, we were told that 3 studios would be taking on the project, with CloudGen, Reagent Games, and Sumo Digital all taking part in development. At the beginning of 2018, CloudGen was purchased by Epic Games, leaving the development to fall squarely on Sumo Digital after several developers left Reagent to join Epic Games. Originally, the game was set to release in 2016, however, it would eventually be pushed back to coincide with the release of the Xbox One X on November 7th, 2017, but once again, the game was delayed into an unspecified time in 2018. It was once again delayed into 2019 with a final release date of February 15th. To say the development of this game was rocky would be an understatement. There are 2 different games essentially when you install Crackdown 3, a multiplayer mode and a campaign mode. These appear on your Xbox as 2 different icons, which is a bit weird, but I guess it will save you space on your system if you're only interested in one or the other. So let's start with the campaign. The game takes place 10 years after Crackdown 2, where a terrorist attack destroys the power grid around the world, and for some reason this city called New Providence is the battleground to take it back. You play as an agent from the agency and must now fight against the terrorist organization known as Terra Nova to bring back power to the world. Yeah, the plot isn't great. The story isn't immersive, but hey, there's a lot of explosions. I guess that is what makes a Crackdown game a Crackdown game. It's not the story or the narrative, it's pretty much solely based on the gameplay, and I will say this, if you were a fan of the other 2 Crackdown games, you will find enjoyment with this game, at least for a little while. Your main goal is to go around and complete objectives around the map. These tasks are mostly freeing prisoners or destroying certain landmarks. As you complete these objectives, bosses will be marked on your map for you to take out, defeat a boss, and another boss will begin to appear. Defeat all of the bosses in the game, and you win. Pretty straightforward. In fact, the entire game is pretty much realized in the first hour, as in you pretty much do the same objectives the entire way through. This becomes one of the game's biggest flaws. It is repetitive. I actually found myself becoming uninterested in the game at times and would listen to music or a podcast while playing towards the end. It just felt very formulaic, whether I was completing an objective or defeating a bullet sponge boss. I would have preferred even a little variety with the game when it came to its necessary objectives. I know a lot of games have filler thrown in for open world games with repetitive quests, but that's the entirety of what this game has to offer. I think the best part of this campaign is by far the exploration. Back is the collect-a-thon of floating orbs. These orbs you collect will increase your agility or all abilities with mystery orbs. In the game, you have attributes that are related to your strength, weapons, driving, agility, and explosions. To level each one up, you do actions that are related to each one, such as punching an enemy, shooting them, or completing driving challenges and jumps. It's the same as previous Crackdown games, and fans will feel right at home looking for hundreds of orbs in each part of the city. This is still an issue, however, since Sumo Digital didn't really work to improve the game or even change it up to some degree, and I feel like I'm playing a reskinned Crackdown 1 at times. Still though, the city is large and load times don't break up your exploration, so for people who like to explore an area and be rewarded, there is some fun to be had. Visually, the game is fine. It's fine. The Crackdown series attempts to use a cartoony style and mimic that of a comic book, and Crackdown 3 leads into that further. The HDR did pop off my TV when I tried it, however, I played most of this game on a 4K monitor that does not have HDR, and it still looked very colorful. I wasn't blown away by anything shown, but it also wasn't disappointing, and with the performance being a locked 30 frames per second, I never felt defeated by a weird frame rate drop in the middle of combat.
Alright, well that's just the single player campaign. We all know this game started out as a multiplayer game first, so I assume most of that development time, at least the majority of it, would have been put into that multiplayer, so it's probably very fleshed out, a ton of stuff to do, of course the destruction that's gonna blow me away. This should be way better.
How is this worse? Alright, so as the story goes, this was a way for Microsoft to incorporate the cloud computing technology they had from Azure into a game. Because of this, Crackdown 3 started out as a multiplayer game and eventually had a campaign added. I figured this would mean that the campaign might be lackluster with an emphasis put on the multiplayer. I was wrong. Saying the multiplayer is bare bones would be an understatement. There are 3 maps and 2 modes. That's it. There are extremely limited customization options around your character and only a few weapons to choose from. There isn't even a way to create a party and invite friends. Instead, the only option you have is to start matchmaking and hope you end up in the same game and on the same team as your friends. This, to me, screams rushed, but unless this game was rebooted several times in development, that wouldn't make sense. Think of it this way, in the amount of time this game was in development, both Rise of the Tomb Raider and Shadow of the Tomb Raider were announced and released. Forza Horizon 2, 3, and 4 were all released. I don't see any reason why the multiplayer should be this lacking in basically everything. The 2 modes are pretty straightforward. You have territories, which is basically capturing points and holding them around the map, and Agent Hunter, where you work to kill other agents and retrieve their tags. Agent Hunter is the mode I played the most, and it became really old really fast. Most multiplayer games now have some form of progression to keep you interested, such as unlocking levels and guns. Crackdown 3 has none of that. You earn points in the game, but that just goes towards your score at the end. There is nothing at all to keep you playing this multiplayer mode since you can't play with friends and there is no form at all of progression. The biggest point of this multiplayer is the cloud-based destruction, and I have to say, it's just not that impressive. The idea is you can destroy most buildings around you in the game while fighting other players. The rocket launcher works best to blow apart buildings, but none of it feels impactful, and everything just kind of blows apart like it's made of paper mache. The weird thing is, I've seen better destruction in games like Battlefield Bad Company 2 and Red Faction Guerrilla, and those were all offline games. They didn't require the cloud. If this is what kept the game in development for so long, it was a mistake.
Also, I really don't see any way that this is going to be competitive at all, considering you hold left trigger down and you just lock on. You don't even just lock on a little bit. You completely grab on to the enemy with your reticule and you just spin and shoot them constantly. The only thing that really get in the way are buildings, and even then it's not too hard to kind of traverse around while you're still locked on and keep shooting your enemy. It really eliminates a lot of the skill when it comes to aiming, and it's more about movement and destroying your environment, which feels more like a tech demo.
The bottom line is this. Crackdown 3 feels like a game that would have been fine releasing 10 years ago. It still wouldn't have set the world on fire and would have been average back then, however it would have at least come out at a time where open world games were not as good as they are now in 2019. Series like The Saints Row and Grand Theft Auto have since conquered open world games much better than the Crackdown series. And rather than attempt to push the genre forward, Crackdown 3 played it safe and essentially released a game that mirrors what was done in 2007 with the original Crackdown. Basically, other video games have since evolved, and Crackdown has pretty much stayed exactly the same. The campaign is monotonous, and the multiplayer feels like a tech demo to show off cloud computing, which in itself is not very impressive. Crackdown fans will find some enjoyment with the campaign exploring the city and collecting orbs, but I would advise against the $6 purchase and instead just grab it on Game Pass.
Now, I expect most places, reviews, etc. to pretty much say at the end of it, go ahead and Game Pass it, you can try it out yourself. And yeah, that's probably the best bet, Game Pass it. However, I think I'd rather pay for a great game rather than settle for a mediocre one on Game Pass, a subscription that I already have. And I do hope that going forward, Microsoft has some plans with these new studios that they have to do something a bit better than what we're seeing with games like Crackdown, Sea of Thieves, and State of Decay 2. Games that every time they come out feel like they're a bit rushed, whether it's Crackdown's multiplayer or Sea of Thieves in general, or State of Decay 2's ridiculous bugs. I have a lot of hope for Microsoft going forward with their future. And I think going into the next generation, we're going to have some great games, but I would like to see them drop one really good game outside of the basics with, Halo, Gears, Forza. I'd even throw Ori into that mix right now because Ori is just an outstanding game and I'm looking forward to the next one. But I'm hoping they can pull off something outside of the big three to really blow us away and make us say, okay, Game Pass is it. I'm in for that. So we'll see. Thanks guys for watching. Let me know what you think about Crackdown 3 down below in the comments, and make sure you like the video if you liked it, dislike it if not, and guys, I'll see you in the next video.